Good. How are you guys?
We are doing great. So we do have our watercolors and all that stuff around to be ready to rock and roll with you today. And I think last time when we met for the first time, which was an awesome opportunity, we just dove straight into the action. And before we get going, I was wondering if you could just we explain a little bit about who you are and what you do. If we could start with that, because I'm not sure that they quite grasp how awesome you are. So if we can start with that and then let you move into the magic of this session today.
So what I do is I'm what's called a colorist. So after the thumbnails happen and then the page is drawn and then the page is inked, then it comes to me. And so what I do is it's kind of like stage lighting, right? Like, have any of you been to a play? Does a school put on plays? Yeah. So you remember how sometimes the light that's cast onto the stage, it helps you know where to look on the stage. And like sometimes in really cool plays, they can turn off lights on the stage and it'll have characters hidden, the people performing hidden, and they turn on, it's like a surprise. Or you can use different color lights to set different moods. That's basically what I do for the comic. And I guess I work for DC and Dark Horse and Image and just like a whole bunch of different companies. I've been doing it for about 10 years, 12 years. I'm not sure. Do you guys have any questions about what I do? It's okay if you don't. It's a grind. There's a question back there.
What comics have you worked
on? I just finished working on Harlequin, the animated series. I did some Goon. I did some Batman, some Wonder Woman, a comic called Spell on Wheels, a comic called Grumble. So I've done like some IP work, so that's intellectual property work, so that's like the Batman, Wonder Woman, and I've done a lot of like indie work for like we create our own characters and then you just have a lot more freedom with that.
Very cool.
Okay, you can go ahead again.
Do you work from home or do you have an office job?
I work I have an office in my apartment, so I'm pretty strict about it. If I'm not working, I don't come near my office, and I have done that pretty much the whole time. I've been doing full-time comics probably for 10 years. It's my only source of income. I sometimes used to teach when I lived out in Portland, Oregon. And I do like at conventions, I used to put on programs explaining what coloring is to other professionals and how to make sure your stuff's up to print standard. I also run a bunch of organizations for other colorists so that we have some protection. All right, that's enough about me. You guys ready for some drawing? That sounds a lot more fun. Okay, cool.
I think they're still allowed by the Harley Quinn animated series. So I think a lot of eyes just got really big. So I think
okay. Let's start with a messy one. Okay. We're gonna do a 10 seconds. So don't start until I tell you what we're gonna do. So grab a paintbrush. Yeah, great. Get it nice and wet. Okay. Choose one color and get that one color really wet so that the color flows really nicely and it's pretty activated. Okay. And if you want the color to be more transparent, the lid of your watercolor box there, you can use that to mix out the color and make it more transparent. So one color that you really like when you're ready, then we'll do the next stage. Okay, make sure you have lots of paint to work with, right? And then we're gonna do 10 seconds of splattering the paint on the paper in front of you. You can do big splatters, you can do little splatters, you can do a combination. Your teachers have been warned about this. You're okay. Okay, ready?
No, not yet. We're making our color.
Don't overthink it.
All right, we'll go. Let's just go with what we have. Not gonna be perfect. That's kind of point of the activity right?
Okay,
All
10,
right.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Good job. Now take your paper, pick it up. Good job. Pass it to the person on your left.
Oh, yay. Oh no. That.
Okay, there should be one at the end that's gonna come all the way to the front.
It's yeah, it's the side. So
Yeah,
my
my
left
left
is this way. Wait, what?
My left is this way. Her left is that way. But I have two.
We can give it to Samantha and Amanda. Wait, I have two.
Does Callie have?
Give me one that's nice.
I'm missing one.
I'm missing one.
Here,
Whoever did that one was good, but like,
Okay. Does everybody have a new drawing now?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The left hand confused them.
Yeah. I maybe should have said clockwise, but okay. Now what we're gonna do is you're gonna try to look at the splatters on the page in front of you, and you're gonna turn it into whatever it reminds you of. So if it looks like a starry night, if it looks like dolphins, if it looks like a horse riding a bicycle, whatever you think it looks like, I want you to finish that drawing. You can use pencils, you can use the watercolors, whatever gets the job done.
Can we choose a different color?
Yeah, you can choose a different color. Now you can use as many colors as you want.
Do we have how long do we have?
We'll give it like 15 minutes.
All right, give me about 15 minutes. Throw an idea, same time, don't overthink it where you're frozen. All right. Look at it, make it come to life. And in case if you missed it, you can use any color you want. So if you want to use other colors, you can.
It looks like dots.
What's that?
Looks like dots.
Okay, so what are you gonna turn it into?
Dots.
Yeah, turn it into dots. That's fine. That's great. Or you can think about what has dots on it. You know, like maybe a polka dot sundress, maybe a giraffe, maybe a building with dots, or maybe it's just dots. Maybe it's dots surrounded by stars and happy faces. Sometimes it'll be hard to paint big areas with these little brushes. So if that's giving you trouble, just know that that's normal. Usually, I'll show you guys what I paint a big space with. These are my paint brushes. You can see they're pretty big. They're like this one's about 1.5 inches. And so that would be for painting maybe like a area that's like 7 inches by 11 inches. But when you guys are working on the comics, the pictures will be a lot smaller than a big page like this.
Right.
So the brushes will be, they'll feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so they just got to organize into teams this morning or right before lunch today. So
Oh, good.
we got our people who are in charge of the panels and the illustrators, inkers, letters, and the colorists. So
That's great.
start to dive into some research on techniques and things like that, and start to bring this comic to life here. Hopefully, here starting this week. This is perfect timing.
All right, we're about at the halfway point. So yeah, so if you want
What?
try to make it so your picture is a little recognizable. Think about what's important to give me the idea.
So Marissa, what's your preferred medium for creating art?
When I have access to an art studio, I like to oil paint. That's my favorite thing to do, but it's pretty tough because you have to use turpentines and things like that. So you have to have a studio where you can dispose of explosive chemicals, which I don't always have access to. So I use watercolor when use watercolor most of the time because then it's very easy to get rid of water. It doesn't explode or anything like that. And it's nice to go outside, pack up a little watercolor book and go outside and draw. There's a lot of nice alleys where I live, so I like to draw those. Okay, we have about 8 more minutes. If you're feeling stuck on the drawing, like there's no more for you to do, you can like think about the story of the picture and sort of write out what you think, what you feel like you've made, and like what's the reasoning behind it, who's on the page, what are they doing. I was just at a big sunny street fair yesterday and I wanted to do some painting, but there was so many people and so many things happening that it was just, I couldn't wrap my brain around how fast the crowd was moving.
Yeah.
But it was fun to go outside.
In the airport yesterday, it just felt like, holy cow, just a lot going on. Like I'm not used to the mass movements of people anymore.
Yeah. All right, we're just about there. 5 minutes left. Are we all feeling pretty close to done? I think a few of us are done.
That's sometimes the hard part with creating art is to know when or what is done, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, when you're done, you're done. There's no reason to fuss with it. Some people paint fast, some people paint slow. All right. And do they have more paper for drawing thumbnails today?
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay, great. All right. And so let's call it. Now, the last thing I want you to do is I want you to look at the painting and the person in the front of you. And if you're all the way in the front, you have to go all the way to the back to look at their paintings. And I want you to give them one compliment about how they painted. Okay, so it can be something you like the thought process, you like the textures, you like the color choices. I just want one compliment about the painting in front of you. Okay.
Look at the painting in front. So if you're in the front, you will come. You'll come back.
I really like the star. I like water. I like the abstract. Yes. You like the stars. Okay. Thank you. I like Hey, I like that the boat is pink. I like how the colors. It is a boat. It's because he didn't Yo, we're getting like absolutely the worst. I think it's not very easy. I like your mom. Do they give each other feedback?
They should all cycle. Yeah, everyone should hear positive feedback.
What is mine?
What do you got there?
It's galaxy, but it looks like I see what it's
All right. So good job, everybody. That one thing that you complimented the painting on, you can also use that technique in your art. So think about what you like, and then you can do that too. So we're always building on each other's skill sets, and like, you know, art can be very supportive because we see things in other people's arts that they may not be able to see. So it's always very helpful to compliment each other. And it's just like a good way to keep your creative juices flowing. Okay. Do we have some paper for thumbnails?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. So are they working on the same? They're each doing individual pages of the whole book, but not the same page, right?
We're gonna be mapping out likely kind of like an assembly line for the whole book. We're kind of following along. We're gonna kind of break it down page by page, so they'll have their duties throughout. But some of the stuff we have to do, we were just talking, is part of our research is to create lots of thumbnails, whatever their kind of domain of their talents or skills are going to be. So we've got a lot of thumbnails to start to do, whether that's drawing or learning how to do lettering and express emotion that way, thought bubble, you know, all the things.
Okay. So who here is going to be doing the drawing? Okay. All right. And did you guys already get your section of the story, what you're supposed to draw?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay. We have the rough draft from Anna, the student that's writing like the picture book content.
Okay.
So we broke down page 1 this morning with Claire in terms of trying to understand how to piece together panels.
Okay, great.
But not got into designing the thumbnails of what the characters are going to look like, the backgrounds, things like that. We've just been trying to get our head wrapped around the writing and how we chunk that down. And
yeah, it's a big process. You can see why it takes so many people to make a book. Did Claire go over how to draw a thumbnail of a page?
No, we have not done any thumbnail work yet.
Okay, then I will do that for us. One moment. All right. I need something to thumbnail. So give me Give me
You want me to-
3 sentences.
You want me to give you the words of our first page?
Yeah, give me the first page, please.
Okay. I'm gonna put the document in, so you can probably easier for you to see
Okay.
on your side. Let me get here. So this is the rough draft. And you'll see page 1 of what the student, Anna, the student, has crafted from the very lengthy journal.
Okay.
And then we've got the journal of Reva as well, has a lot more details.
Okay.
But we're kind of using those words as a kind of the outline or foundation for the comic.
All right. Let me get back to Zoom here. Share my screen.
Does that help at all?
Yes. All right. Oh, good. This does look like it's broken down. So,
Yeah, and those highlighted, that's how we worked with Claire this morning to kind of what we thought were kind of how we were learning how to break down the content into panels.
yeah,
I'm sure it makes sense to you.
some ideas. So that each one of these highlights is going to be a different panel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first thing we need to think about is we have to get 6 panels on this page, right? So that's step 1. Figure out how to put 6 panels on this page. But before we do that, we need to think about what are the 6 panels doing. So for instance, if I wanted to, and you're going to do this with just like a ruler, but I'm going to do it with a computer real fast. So if what kind of shape is this that I just put? Rectangle. Uh-huh. Do you know what the orientation of that rectangle is? That's called portrait. So why do you think they call it a portrait?
Go ahead.
Well, because portrait is up and down and landscape is side to side.
Perfect. Yeah. So when we're thinking about where we want to put our panels, one of the first things we need to think about is what even goes in the panels, right? Because, and obviously, like, no rule is unbreakable. But what if we were to draw a landscape in this panel, right? We have this little itty bitty tight space to work with, right? And that doesn't fit so good. What fits better is a nice upright person sitting here. And the thing about thumbnails, we're not like, thumbnails really, really stay very, very loose. Because all you're doing with a thumbnail, I should have grabbed some of my friends' references because some of my friends even just do stick people, and they draw beautiful comics, but when they're doing their thumbnails, they just draw a stick person because they're just trying to think through the logistics, right? So a portrait mode fits a portrait better. The other thing that fits nicely is like if you want to do a long hallway, right? So something like this, or a big cityscape that's very vertical, fits much nicer in a portrait style than a long landscape. Okay, so you just want to think about what's going to go in the panel, and that's the first thing that sort of gives you an idea of how we're going to set up our panels. Okay, so our first panel says, I, Rivera Barenboim, born on August 23rd, 1933, Romania. It was the same year that Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. So what do we think we want in that? What are two different things we could put in that first panel? What would set the stage for the story we're telling?
Picture of Reba.
Mm-hmm.
The one idea we have is a picture of Reba. Will be another important idea for that first panel that we highlight is Mark. Jason, you got?
Me and Evan earlier were thinking for like the mom holding her as a baby, and then like a
Yeah.
hunter with shining lights as hope, and then Hitler behind them, like growing in the tower.
We can do hit. Keep in mind you want to like try to keep one idea per panel, right? So we could also do like a landscape of the village. Would that tell the kind of story we want to tell? You may not have access to pictures of the village, but yeah. So you want to do a picture of her. So what shape would we want to do for a picture of her? Which shape of panel? Landscape?
Portrait.
Okay. So there we go. The second panel we're doing. My father was born into a large family. There were children. All the children were, except him, were girl. My brother. Okay. So this is saying there's a big family. What do we think will convey the idea of a big family?
Landscape.
You want to try landscape? Okay, so if we want to do a landscape there, that's kind of a tight landscape, right? So we could do like, that's kind of a squishy, tight little landscape. The other thing we can do is, well, let's look at the next panels and then see what we can shift around. Because what another way we might want to organize this is we might want to do sort of a shorter panel here. And then, man, we have a little bit of a puzzle. Because we want the second panel to read, right? You go left to right. So we could do a landscape here. But then we have this dead space, right? So one thing we could do if we want to put a landscape here is we could put the title card here. And then we have a nice little landscape. I'm not really sure what's in the area, but it's probably a village with a lot of houses. All right. But now we have a different problem, right? Because now we have 4 panels to fit down here. Do we think that'll look good or do we think that'll look tight?
Tight.
Tight, yeah. So then we need to think through, we want maybe a drawing of Paris. Maybe a drawing of the mom. Okay. So we're going to do this one more time. We want this picture of Riva to be the strongest image. So we do want that to be big. Whoops. Okay. And then we can do maybe like a little landscape like that. And then we can do great. Okay, now we have a little more room to play with. So what do we think we want for this picture of Riva's mom? Do we want just a picture of the mom? Do we want the mom looking like she graduated? Do we want a another drawing of the village being happy? What do we think?
What do you guys think? She's talking to you.
I think when she graduates.
Okay. So we'll do her graduating. And then by process of elimination, we sort of have this shape left, right? All right, so we have here, we're gonna have Riva, and we want maybe Riva as a baby. So we'll just do like a nice little baby. Boop, boop, boop. I don't know if she wore a baby bonnet or not. And personally, for me, I think fabrics are really beautiful, and I think they can be very happy. So for me, what I might do is like draw some traditional fabric in the background so that it looks nice and bright and happy. And then we are going to look up a quick picture of a Romanian village. What are some of the key features of Romania that you all have found?
You guys, when you read your article,
No, it kind of looked old.
It looks old. Okay.
That little rundown.
That article was from a while ago. That article was a picture of Romania.
Is there anything specific about the roads or the houses that make it look specifically Romanian?
I don't think they've quite got to that detail yet.
Okay. All right. And then there's stuff we can do that I think would be really nice, but it might be too much work. So remember, you can also like sort of, you just want to draw what's essential, right? But maybe to get the idea that it's a small town, we draw like some horse with carts and some villagers. And maybe some people keep Maybe people keep sheeps. I'm not sure. So you can do some sheeps. And it seems, looking at these pictures, like the houses are, they have some separation. But they have those nice thatched roofs. Okay. So then this is called your setting. And this is called an establishing shot. And that means this is so you know, this is so your reader knows where they are in time and space, right? Because if we don't tell them, everything could be happening in a void. It could be happening anywhere. So we have to tell the reader where things are happening. And the only way we can do that is we can draw it or we can put a caption. Okay. And then, so let's see. Maybe we have mom in some traditional clothing. This is nice vests.
During this,
Okay.
during this stage of thumbnailing, do we think about the thought bubbles and that stuff yet, or not at this point? Just worry about getting.
No,
the
you do
visual.
want to make sure there's room for them. So it's sort of habit for me. So this title would go like, you want to leave room for it, right? So this is this is all kind of big. So all the establishing text goes here. And then here we have plenty of room here. And then that was a short little sentence. I think I would probably put it here. This might actually read better because the eye would go better to shift this whole drawing down. Okay. It would read a little better if the caption was at the top. Okay, because then your eye goes there to there. So let's move mom down also. Okay, and then here we can put the caption bubble here or here. I might want to establish Paris. So what are some things that would establish Paris?
Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
What else?
Those red things that they have.
The red things that they have?
No, red.
Oh, the red things.
Yeah. Croissant. Baguettes. Yeah, baguettes. Long.
Yeah, somebody, I mean, honestly, it's always fun to have somebody with a grocery bag with a baguette sticking out of it. So you do some like 1930s style clothing and a little grocery bag with a baguette sticking out of it. Okay. Just like a little crowd of people. All right. Okay. And make sure there's room for the lettering. And then do we know what the Russian gymnasium school is?
We don't know the specific one yet. I don't know if Reba will remember. So we're working on some translation and follow-up questions with her.
So is it like a college maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What's some things we can draw that would convey that this is a pretty big deal to graduate from this school?
You get graduation, guys.
A diploma.
Let's see. Maybe we can, let's do a drawing of the school. All right. This is just like a roughed in because we're just trying to get an idea of what fits well on the page. And then when you actually draw it, then you take your time. All right. So maybe I don't know what kind of Russian buildings look like. Spinnerets.
You're pretty spot on.
Okay. And then drawing some people will help give a sense of scale for how big the buildings are. And then your text bubble. Probably don't want to cover up the people, but text bubble can go here or here. And then we are going to borrow an idea from another artist. But we're going to adjust it to make it fit our stuff a little better. So it's a little more text heavy, so we're going to give it a big thing. And this one might even use two. And then we'll have the chalkboard in the background. And we'll put some math on here. And then the girls in their classroom learning math. Okay, so now we have a page that we can turn into a drawing. Once we're actually drawing this, then we can go through and like think about things a little more slowly. And what we could do is like take this thumbnail, because this is just getting the ideas, right? So we're just trying to figure out what we need. The next thing I would do is I would go through and figure out what references do I need for the panels. So this one, panel 1, I would need, what are some things on here I need to reference? Yeah. Riva. Maybe a generic baby, because she probably won't have a baby picture of herself, but we can take some guesses about what she'd look like as a baby. Traditional Romanian baby clothes. Here, what do we need in the second panel some reference of?
The design of their buildings.
Yeah. What else?
It's a Romanian village.
What was that?
It's a Romanian village.
Yeah. Maybe what the landscape looks like. So if it has mountains or anything like that, what kind of animals? So then this is Riva's mom. And maybe some traditional clothing. And then for here, we need Paris, and we need to figure out what year of Paris, right? Because the clothing in Paris looks different in 1910 versus 1920 versus 1930. And that is another way we can establish the time for our readers, is they'll be able to see the fashion. And you don't have to go over the top drawing it. You know, they can just be like little silhouettes of the fashion. Do we know what a silhouette is? It's like if you cast a light onto something and then the shadow it casts onto the wall. That's the silhouette. So it's all the shape without the details. What do we need for panel 5? Yeah, the school.
What kind of school it is, like what people go there, so what diploma they get there.
Yeah. All right. And then the last one, maybe just what the school uniforms were, and maybe a math equation to put back here would be a good idea. All right. So do we have an idea of what thumbnails are for now?
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. There's a lot of head nodding.
Yeah, they're for planning. They're not for finished drawings. They're for getting an idea of what you need to get your drawing. So it's like, you know, like a blueprint, right? You can't build a building unless you know the parts that go into building the building. So this is like your blueprint. It's telling you you need this number of I-beams, you need this room for lettering, you need to look up these resources. Okay.
I think sixth graders, the questions that she was processing and asking you and asking herself as she went through are just a valuable thing to hang on to as you process a page. So I would even, can you all think back to some of those questions that she was asking as she decided, was it landscape, was it portrait, what goes in there, what's most important? About some of those quotes she said about draw what's essential. Where's the text box go? Where does it make the most sense for the eye to have the text box go? What fits?
And even some of those detailed questions about what does a village in Ukraine or Romania look like? What does the fabric, what is the fabric design or color look like on that very first page of Baby Ruba? How do we know that we're in Paris? What are some distinguishing characteristics or factors that let the reader know, ooh, I'm familiar, this is Paris, right?
Even how you drew just the bottom of the Eiffel Tower. You didn't have to draw the whole Eiffel Tower, just that little bit. I mean, I never thought of that before.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to show everything, just enough.
And the boxed in places for text so your reader can follow the story.
And be sure to like go through, plan the boxes first, so you don't squeeze yourself into weird situations, right? Everything's about making it as easy on yourself as possible. You guys have any questions? My time with you is almost up.
Our brains are like,
It's a lot to take in. It's why people do it for a lifetime. Yeah.
Do you use a special computer for all of your work?
I have to. Yeah. I do use a PC because I can switch out the parts, but I just got a new video card for it that was very expensive. But Photoshop tends to need a lot of processing power, and I usually have to cross-reference pages a lot. So I usually have like a whole bunch of pages open at the same time. And it just puts a lot of pressure on my computer.
So
You can, like I said with GIMP, you can do it with even a Chromebook. Like you can do it on an iPad, you can do it on a laptop, but it's just because of the speed I have to work. And all the cross-referencing I have to do that I use a special computer. You can make a comic with anything. You know, it's don't let anything hold you back from that.
I was just wondering if you built your own computer.
I did, yeah. Yeah, it's I've built the last 3 ones. This is a very annoying process. Do you build them too?
No, I'm just interested in that.
Yeah, it's a lot of research. Making sure everything fits together and doesn't exploit other things.
this is awesome. This is awesome.
Really,
Really
really
awesome.
appreciate this.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
very talented.
Thank you.
Smart. You don't feel very smart.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not the dumbest. I don't really like time. Just saying.
Thank you for that.
No, it's good just, to see how you work through it. That helps us kind of figure out how we're gonna make sense of it with our work. So that was really helpful, just kind of following along and hearing the questions and thoughts. Really helps us kind of move forward with the work too. So we really appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Next time I'll see if I can round up some of my friends' thumbnails to finish pages, because you'll be really surprised to see how loose a thumbnail can start versus the final page. It's a big difference.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Take care.